welcome back, and many of you are coming in for the first time. So it's a reunion of sorts, and we have people from different batches, faculty who are coming on this new format called Main Gate Darbar. Unlike what you thought, Ari, it's not MGD conducting it; it's just called MGD. So it's just a format where we're sharing. It's more of stories than work, and we try and combine both, where we get to see sides of people which we don't know, and the host plays a big part in this, where it's like a conversation where the host talks to the person who's presenting, and in this case, it's Devika. So she put her hand up and said she wants to rag Oni, and we have that on YouTube afterwards. So I'm going to hand it over to Devika, who will take it on. And if you can unmute yourself, Devika, and I'm going to put the spotlight video onto you.
Hi. I mean, I don't want to rag him, yeah. Oni is like my most favorite bong on earth, okay? And yeah, I thought we went back a long way till I met Shudipto just now, and he has known Oni from when they were chaddi pals, like literally chaddi pals. So without further ado, do I do proper formal intro and all? I'm not into doing proper formal intros.
No,
but
I
I
think
can tell you that
good.
any time. So Oni, let me put Oni in a nutshell. He is my Mr. Cool. Okay. Anytime I feel really down and out and I need to have a laugh, I just pick the phone and call Oni, and there's always a story. So Oni and the storytelling cannot be separate. And he'll make the most boring day into the most fascinating script with just his storytelling magic. Over to Oni.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Sajid. And hello, everyone. So, what I was supposed to talk about was some kind of a journey. Just that my journey is not as exciting as say Devika's, a lot of other people. So I'll try and make it sound as interesting as possible in most cases. So some of it, of course, I'm not going to talk about work really, but I need to bind it together. So therefore, I will be sort of jumping on few projects. It will help me talk about whatever, some stories or the other. So before we start, I'm going to start a presentation of some, I mean, I just share a screen. So it'll just some images which will help me take things forward. 1 second. Yeah, here you go. So the Main Gate chai, I love the name, Sajid. You know, that's the thing about this chai is something, because I keep going back to NID every year, and I don't like that chai. I don't know about you all. I don't like that chai actually, right? That's the only time I drink milk and overboiled tea. But sitting there, you can actually drink cups and cups. It's fantastic. It's something about the space and the chai, which is fantastic. The Main Gate chai. So, so I was born in Calcutta, Kolkata, and so my house, it's of course still there. My mom lives there, and it's one of those old houses. It's not like old as in that kind of old, but yeah, oldish house, which is there. I remember the house. You know, people remember places differently. I remember it as different pockets and the stories or things that I used to do, right? So, for instance, my staircase, right? So, which was, we have this, you know, the typical red oxide floor and the staircase, which goes up and up to the terrace. Now, I remember it because from my childhood, I used to always never climb up the stairs. I used to always, I don't know how to explain, but stand on the other side and walk up the staircase, you know, cling on and walk up the staircase. And I don't remember actually running down. I used to always slide down sitting there. So I remember this very clearly. And some of the spaces I remember actually through Agni, because now I see Agni there. That's my son, Agni there. And for instance, the windows. Our house used to be full. I mean, still is full of windows. And I remember when there used to be rains, especially the nor'westers. Me and my brother used to go nuts And we had designated windows. So you take this room, I take this room, because we had to shut the windows. It used to be a 20-minute process to shut all the windows. And and this veranda with that armchair used to be where my grandmother used to sit. My grandmother used to call her Maiji. She was a very important person in my life, me and my brother in our lives, because she used to look after our studies. She pretty much used to look after everything. And I mean, she was one of the coolest women that I've known. And so Maiji used to sit there out here and do her puja, or sometimes read books out there. And any questions we had, anything, whether it's to do with life, whether it's to do with studies, whether it's to do with, I don't know, stories or whatever else, she would sit there and answer all your questions. And she used to make things sound so simple. And of course, there were a lot of cross references of Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita and wherever else. And sometimes actually there was no cross reference. She just make things sound very simple. And of course, the terrace, where you can see Agni jumping around. So that's the terrace. We've sort of played a lot of cricket and flown a lot of kites, because that was really big when we were growing up.
Tell
That's
me
my
one
Maiji.
thing. So your Maiji, tell me, like all grandmothers, did she play favorites?
She, yeah, because I think she sometimes pretended to like my brother, but she actually liked me more. She was in denial.
And how did she show it? I mean, was she so like both my grandmothers were polar opposites. One was a battle axe, okay, who was just too strict, and the other, she's still around and she's still my beacon of hope and strength. It is an absolute delight without a mean bone in her body. What was your grandmother like? Was she strict? Was she soft?
She was strict, because you see, she had a very, very hard life. So so when she was when she was I think maybe in her 30s, she had 3 kids, and she lost her husband. And she was an extremely educated lady. She was a gold medalist in Sanskrit and in philosophy. She had actually studied philosophy under Dr. Radhakrishnan, and then she took a job that time it was not easy for her to get a job, and she took a job as an LIC agent. And she brought up all the kids, sent them to engineering colleges and wherever they had to be set up, built a house. She used to, after work, sit on a truck, come with all the saman, and got the house built that house that you saw. So therefore, she was a hard one. But at the same time, I think somewhere down the line, she knew that the way she had held on to her kids, she couldn't hold on to us the same way. So therefore, she was a lot more easy with us than she had been with her own children, right? So for instance, from my childhood, there was me and my brother. We were radically different. So my brother
as I can
went
see
to
from
IIT.
this photograph.
Yeah.
Look at the hair, man, and look at the posture.
So my brother went to IIT, and he was an engineer, and everybody, all my dad, my uncle, they were all engineers. So my dad wanted me to be an engineer, so he enrolled me into Agarwal classes and all those things, which was damn good, because I used to get those, pothas. So I never used it, but I sold it off and I made a lot of money with it. So
you made money in many ways, but we shall not get into
we won't get there. So
Oni ran a film club very early in his life, just to get the point across.
Devi, control.
Okay.
So yeah. So I used to draw a little bit when I was a kid, and so my grandmother's, I don't know how, she decided to send me to some drawing class over the weekend, and she insisted I go there. I don't know why, but and I used to enjoy sort of going there. And so when I was in somewhere around class 11, 12, by that time, um, I was pretty messed up in studies, right? And I was not doing well at all, and doing all kinds of nonsense, playing a lot of football, doing a lot of dumb charades, doing basically anything but studies. And so everybody was giving up hope of what will happen to this boy, kind of thing. And then I just figured out what what shall I do in life, and somehow I chanced upon somebody told me about NID, and I filled up the form and I sent it, and then I got called for the interview, and that's when it struck my dad that I might be going off to this place called NID. So he was not very happy about it initially. So so we had to go to that armchair where Maiji was sitting there, and so both of us had to present our case. So my father, it was like late night kind of thing, and she was sitting there, and my dad said, "Please tell him that this is all nonsense. He will go there and come out and become a hoarding painter. So then I'll be driving around. I'll see my son up there painting hoardings." So
Which is fine.
I couldn't really argue because I had no clue what NID was. I just knew that I'll just get out of here and go there. I didn't know much details. So I remember my grandmother listened to him for a while and then told him that don't worry, let him go. He will actually do better than you've done in your entire life. And of course, his ego was hurt, and but I was sort of allowed to go. And so in a way, everything that we used to read, everything we used to, even movies, whatever movies we used to watch. If you remember, Doordarshan used to have Saturday and Sunday movies that time, right? So in our place, Saturday was a Bangla movie and Sunday was a Hindi movie. And whenever we knew what the movie was, we had to present our case to Maiji. She would do research. She would do research, figure out whether it's educative enough, and so
hello.
So
I don't believe this.
And so that's precisely why I had an alter ego, which I'll explain.
No, but tell me, if what she thought? She thought Amitabh Bachchan is Lord Rama or Krishna. How you got fully into Amitabh Bachchan? If she sort of.
So no. So the thing is that okay. So I'll come to Amitabh Bachchan, and
no, you can come later at your own pace. But I'm saying
no.
that
So anyway, so I'll quickly move through this. This is my dad. We lost him. I don't know. I think 6 years back. My mom. And my school, we were in a boys' school, bunch of ruffians, complete ruffians. And
so I have to button out here. When I joined NID, I saw a very clear sort of. So there are these cliques. No, I don't know if they're still there in NID, but when we were there was the Tamilian clique, and there was the Bong clique, and there was the Mallu clique. You could see these gangs, okay, and somehow the Tamilian and the Bengali gangs really clung together. The bloody Mallu gangs just laughed, giggled, sniggered into their beards, okay. But in the Bengali clique, I remember even in our batch there was this other person who joined and left early, but people who came from Calcutta, they were either the Lamats, Loreto convents, and Xavier's variety people, or there were the Calcutta. There was a very distinct sort of thing. So, what was your school like?
So I was the non-Lamats thing. A lot more earthy. That's the only word I can use. So, so basically a boys' school where I actually played more football there than studies, right? Than studies. So we were, and by the time we were in class, sort of, and if you see, there's this little photograph of a park and a bench with
Yeah,
some
6 of
kids,
you,
some
5
of
of
us
you.
sitting there. I mean, I'm not there in the photograph, but this is very important because when we were in 11, 12, so we had school started at 7 in the morning until 12. So there were, I think, 8 periods or whatever, and the prefect is to take attendance of the first one and the last one, and if you're present in both, you're marked present. So we used to attend the first one, some of us, of course, and then disappear to this park, which was very close to our school, which is called the Matic Square Park, and so hang around uh, about 4 periods there, bumming around, and then we used to go back to school and attend
And
the
do
last
what
one.
while hanging around?
We
Okay,
used to
this is, yeah.
have fun. Have fun, right?
So I have, do you have another slide of school? Oh, wow. Look at you.
So that's playing gully cricket.
So I have
And
with us, yeah. Oh my God. Oni.
and we used to do a lot of dumb charades. We were really good at it. So
There were girls
dumb
also
charades.
in your school.
No. This is in the inter-school.
So
The
what happened
inter-school
when
competitions.
boys would meet girls from other schools? From all
Some
boys
boys
schools?
were very cool.
Huh.
Some
And
of
Oni
us
boy?
were. We were like, if somebody says, "What is the time?" we were in love. So. So
I have with us out here, Shudipto, are you here somewhere? Can we find Sajid? I don't know how this works. So we have somebody from Oni's school days. And I would like Shudipto to
wow.
share just like a 1 minute snippet. But we can't find him.
I'm here.
Aha, yes.
Yeah. So Oni was by far the most artistically talented person in our batch. And
Hey, you don't have to be nice about him. Huh?
no,
Nobody's
I'm not
nice
being
about
nice. I'm just being very honest.
Okay.
We have weekly roasts, and
Huh.
Oni is by far the person who holds this thing together. And when we were growing up, he was the person who had the the notebook in his hand and scribbling and drawing and making sure that our school was a place where academics was the only thing everybody talked about, and it was a very academically academic excellence oriented school. And it was extremely refreshing to see a person like Oni, who used to excel by far in the artistic pursuits, and we used to always marvel at his way of putting things together, which we could never do. So it's just on. I mean, you can ask any other person in our batch, and everybody will say the same thing.
Okay.
By far,
Lovely.
the most artistically talented person
Oni,
in
are
our
you
whole.
blushing enough?
No, I don't know when and how I did that, but
Are
I
you
remember.
in a bucket now? Thank you so much, Shudipto. Shudipto is joining us all the way from Texas. Huh? It's like amazing that people are on this from all sorts of time zones. Yeah, and here you're painting a black man.
I don't know what I was doing. This is some inter-school competition kind of thing. Which I
Man,
found
look
these
at your
photographs.
Michael Jackson shoes.
Okay. So in Calcutta, there's this place called Benting Street. So Benting Street has a lot of shoe shops, most of them owned by Chinese guys. So I went there and I got this pair of shoes. Okay, I'm not very proud of it now, but I got this pair of shoes. I designed it and got it done. So those were the coolest pair of shoes that I had at that time. So, and so they were very cool. So now talking about one of the most important, besides of course Maiji or whatever, tangible influence in my life is, see, in my school we never learned Hindi, right? Hindi was I only learned 2 years of Sanskrit, so therefore I could read Devanagari a little bit, but Hindi I learned from only one person, Amitabh Bachchan. So I used to, of course, bunk stuff, school and not school,
Yeah, between
whatever,
your first
tuition
period and last
karke.
period. First period and last period of
No, this
school.
I'm talking about class 8, 9, 10 also, where
Acha, हाँ.
we couldn't bunk periods. But kisi ka, fictitious boy's birthday, so you'll get 5 rupees per head to give gift
celebrate.
and stuff. So Amitabh Bachchan. So this is where, if you look at sort of storytelling, there's something about there are various influences. I'm sure you have, and we've all had our way. Things like comic books, Indrajal comics, right? That Indrajal comics used to come rolled up in a newspaper, and
Yes.
used to be flung there. And me and my brother used to sit there with the thickness of that paper we knew is today only newspaper or Indrajal comics, right? And so of course we were given that only when we came back from school. And all the stuff, most of the stuff we read in Bangla. So to me, it was always Betal and Oronnodeb, not Phantom. And
What?
and
Betal
Tintin,
and?
Betal or Oronnodeb. Oronnodeb is Oronno is mountain, the jungle, the lord of the jungle.
Oh.
Yeah, and and devil, the wolf, was Bagha. And even Tintin. So Snowy was Kuttush.
Oh my God. And Tintin sounds like a good bong house name, huh?
Yeah, so
you have two
Tintin
house
in Bangla.
names. What was your house name? You have an
Oni.
only. What is this? You weren't a Tintin or a Tuk Tuk or a Voodoo or something?
No. I was not Piklu, Bitlu. Or there's a lot of kids in 80s were called Skylab. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so coming back to Amitabh Bachchan, there is something about Amitabh Bachchan films.
Hey, put off one picture, man. Huh?
So something about Amitabh Bachchan films, I used to relate to him. I used to relate to his stories. I used to relate to him. I used to learn all my Hindi from there. And every time I watched something and I came back home, I was in a daze. It's almost like I've lived through the entire narrative, whether it's a Prakash Mehra narrative or a Manmohan Desai narrative. It's almost like I was him. So there were times when my father, I have done some nonsense or whatever, my father's yelling at me, right? And I'm standing there, I'm not saying a word. But in my head, I'm saying, Lavari se ganda nali ka keeda hai. So I don't know why. Okay. But I'm saying it because it's when Amitabh Bachchan, who's defiant and telling his father that, right? And then after some time, my dad will look at me and says, "What are you thinking?" Nothing. Obviously, I can't tell him that. Now one thappad I'll get. So a lot of Amitabh Bachchan influences, which actually in later life, I've always realized that how cinema was very strongly ingrained, which was actually not so much from any serious cinema when I was a kid. Of course, a lot of sort of what we call serious cinema, whatever meaningful cinema, I started watching much later. That time it was essentially Amitabh Bachchan, and of course a bit of Mithun and Disco Dancer. Oh, that is superb. So so yeah.
You never went through the Rishi Kapoor Curse phase.
No. I was very much in Disco Dancer, Kasam Paida Karne Wale Ki, dance. So
the Bapi Lahiri route.
Yes. So did all that, right? And then of course post that managed to sneak into sort of NID. I still don't know how it happened. I guess
that's the mystery for most of us.
I swear, man, luck by chance. I remember I went there. There were these kids. I think this is what you were talking about the other day also. There were these kids. I remember this guy from Calcutta. I think Arya would know that person, Anurag Hira. And he was a guy who was designing his own comic books, illustrating
Bhagwan.
stuff.
Huh.
Man, so he had come with the entire potha of this, and I had sort of I saw his stuff. Then at night I sat in the room. Next day was my interview. I picked up some paper and started doing some sketches. Okay, so I said, "Kuch to le jaunga yaar." And so yeah. So next day, I think it happened.
What was your first impression of NID? I mean, after coming out of Calcutta and coming to that campus.
I don't know. I was during when I came for my interview. Well, I was in a daze, right? I was in a daze because I honestly had no clue what to expect, and I don't remember who all were with me in that interview thing or the group thing or whatever else, because to me that entire thing is a daze, right? And I had stayed back for 2 days, and I remember wherever I was staying outside, and I came to call MGD that whether I've gotten in or not, because we were the last batch, 3 batches. We
So
were the
you'll
last
get
batch.
to know immediately, yeah.
Yeah. So I came to the main gate and I called, and that was close to 45 degrees that time. It was really hot.
Yeah, yeah.
And I called, and MGD picked up the phone, and he said, I gave him my name, and he said, "You're in." So, and he hung up, and I had no clue what he meant. I said, "What do you mean you are in?" So I called again, okay, from the main gate. Then he got really pissed off. He said, "I'm saying you are in." I said, "Okay, sir, thank you." And I didn't know what to do, how to celebrate, because I didn't know anybody there. I was all by myself. So I went to Natraj, got myself a the softies, soft serves or whatever, those ice creams, and I watched a Manoj Kumar film.
At that Dairy Den, no? Remember it? I think it's called Dairy Den in Natraj. Yeah.
So,
Manoj Kumar film, my God.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't know how. I don't think anybody celebrated NIT by watching a Manoj Kumar film, but I did.
Man. Talk about softies.
I swear. So yeah. So then, sort of course, NID. But when I came to NID to join NID, so that is when this place actually hit me, right? And I remember I came with one trunk, and the first person I met was Paresh Pal Mehta. I don't know how many of you will remember Paresh Pal Mehta.
Of course.
So he asked me. I was taking my trunk up to the 3rd floor. So, and he and Bashir were sitting there on the those landings. So he said, "What do you play?" I said, "I play football." So he said, "Okay, so let's box." So I still don't know what is the connection between football and boxing. But
no, it's the trunk he was talking to, not you.
So I had to box. And I had never boxed. I mean, I'd boxed a bit, but never boxed like that, of course. So I got bashed up and stuff. And but post, so coming to NIT, the first, I think, few months was really not difficult, but very strange for me, because, see, I've never spoken so much in English before, right? And here, everybody spoke these talks in English only, no? So, and Hindi, of course, I can't talk. So therefore, I kept quiet for a long time. And my savior was Sumant. Sumant was, English speaking, cool, very cool.
Yeah. Actually, poor Sumant, yeah.
Sumant, and I used to hang around with Sumant.
Sumant and Sumant and Murli were roommates, no? In the first year?
Sumant, Murli and us were roommates. So I used
Sumant,
to
between you and
hang
Murli.
out with Sumant as much as possible, mentally make notes that, okay, in a situation like this, you say, it's almost like you say, no, hang on. It's almost like you say blimey and whatever. No, I'm saying, so.
Oh, gosh.
So I said, okay, in a situation like this, you're supposed to raise your eyebrows and say, how cool. So So,
Sumant, do you have any nice memories of that first few months at NID with this man in your room?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Let's take a
Oni
strip.
and I were roommates. Now, Oni decided, and thankfully he did, but he decided to adopt me very early on. I didn't know that. So somewhere along the way, along the end of the first month, Murli found himself shunted off, possibly with Durgesh or someone.
No, with Botra.
okay, we stopped there. Huh?
And Oni very gently asked me, Sumant, would you mind if I put up a few posters? I said, sure, I was willing to be very accommodating, all of that. Next thing I know, there are 21 posters of Madonna up, 21 in that tiny room. And, he said, oh,
all on his wall.
He said, this wall is empty.
Yeah.
Let me give you, would you like 2 posters? So he gave me one Samantha Fox and one Brooke Shields poster to put up on my wall.
And I remember, I was just telling Sumant, I remember we had a fight over this because that Samantha Fox poster, I can't forget it. She was wearing this really tight, laced up leather brown, Lord knows what, and was just oozing out of it. And I kept telling Sumant, and I didn't know Oni back then, and I didn't want to know this boy with a Wham wala George Michael haircut and 21 Madonna posters next to him. And I told Sumant, how can you have this picture in your wall? Like, what is wrong with you? And Sumant was like, no, but you have to be accommodating.
It wasn't that bad, Sumant. Come on.
No, like I said,
Sam Fox poster, do you remember?
Absolutely.
He was a very talented singer. Okay, let's not.
Shields, Yeah, continue. Yeah.
So
basically, this persona, Oni Sen, had the Amitabh Bachchan in him and had 21 Madonnas in him. Okay, move on. I just want to put things in perspective. Yeah.
So this is, I think, for all of us, the first that bridge from station to the Sardar Bridge, right? So
without this road, no?
Without the road. This, of course, I shot last time I was there. So without the road, but the bridge, and so this is, of course, if you remember.
Oh yes.
Our first photograph, right? With all of us there, and of course Saru and
oh my,
Gary.
Arye, look at you here. And Renu Man and Mamta.
And Arpita and
Sonalika.
And this the only photograph that I found which had some of my posters.
Oh yes.
Right. I think it was one of our birthdays.
No, I think this is Garba, some Garba time, because I'm dressed in a chanya choli.
Yeah.
Look at you, Arye.
Yeah. So the thing about NID is, I mean, of course, apart from getting used to people, and which took me a while to get used to people, what was fun. I think what was very interesting is it took me a while to figure out how to learn, right? Because you see, it was such which is what, I don't know about you all, but at least in my school, the kind of school that I was from, I never enjoyed learning. Never enjoyed learning. So that's one of the reasons why what I was there was I used to manage to sort of write enough to pass the exams, but that's about it. So this is the first time I was actually enjoying learning, and I was getting a little worried. Okay, why am I enjoying learning? I'm not supposed to enjoy learning. So
psycho trip ho gaya hai.
I know, man, but it sort of took me a while to sort of get used to it. But and of course, I think what we were discussing the other day, I came here because I came to NID, and within a little while, I decided that I want to do animation. Just a logical choice in my head, mathematical choice, because I could draw a little bit. And so I said, okay, if I can draw, I'll do animation. And and that time, of course, we had to do basics of everything. And I did basics of animation. And I realized that, okay, Guru, this is not for me. I can't sit for, whatever, 5 days and do 10 seconds of work. So I decided not to do animation. But by that time, elements of VTR happened. And I realized that, it's all connected back to the films and cinema and Amitabh Bachchan and whatever, all the other films that I watched. Slowly, I was trying to figure out that this is what I want to do. And of course, which I'll get to later, which we'll all get to later, Tutanama. That's something that changed our life. So
I want to actually spend a nice chunk of time on that, because that was like a sort of a changing moment. Here's Bala has commented that, so many girls in the boys' hostel. I think maybe we need to share that one consultative forum. So when we joined NID, there was no rules, no? Anybody could be in anybody's hostel.
There's the entire protest. I think we should spend time on discussing the protest. So what happened was, when we joined, this is for all of you who came in later. So when we joined, there was a 11 o'clock rule. So the boys and girls could go into each other's hostel only till 11 o'clock at night. And then, of course, there's some things happened. And by the end of first year, they decided to make that a proper rule. Because all this time, it was not a rule. I mean, it was just written on paper, but nobody had to follow it.
Followed,
yeah. So then they decided to make it very they say, okay, you need to follow it. And then we had that consultative forum. And that time, I don't know who asked that question. I think Mohan or somebody asked that question.
Yeah, Mohan, who was talking on our
what can
side,
you do after 11 that you can't do before 11? And suddenly there was silence from all the faculty members, and we all thought that, oh damn, now
I was ready to go get up and Sala, kya kar raha hai?
Suddenly the entire student body got up and said, no, it's okay. 11 o'clock rule is fine. We are good with it. Okay. And then, of course, that all got sorted. Till the time, I think we were in our second year, third year or whatever, or fourth year, I don't know when. There was another fiasco that happened, and they decided to stop girls going into guys' hostel and the other way around. And that, I think, if you remember, was probably the first and the last time there was a protest. And what I don't know, I'm sure all of us remember different things about the protest, and where we decided to stop class for 2 days, and or day and a half or whatever. And I remember clearly there were lots of posters put up.
Yes.
We had got a typewriter to write letters to all the alumni, saying that the system that has brought you up is being questioned and some nonsense like that, hoping or thinking that all of them will get into a flight or a train and come to NID and join us. Obviously, they must have read it and laughed. And I remember that when the faculty members, now this is what, we were discussing in the afternoon today, how the faculty members, how different they were and how amazing they were. So I remember there were 6-7 of us with a guitar and stuff, went to the faculty chai place and singing We Shall Overcome.
Yes.
Okay. And there was, I think, Suranjana and somebody else. They decided to join in, and suddenly we realized, hang on, you are not supposed to join in, man.
Yeah, it is our
protest. We are protesting against you all. This is not sing-along Antakshari, man. So then the night after that, we decided, if you remember, we said, Acha, you won't let us sleep together? We will come and sleep in front of the faculty house.
Yes.
So we got our mattresses and all, and in that place, where Nina and they were all used to live there. So we decided to sort of put our mattresses on, sleep there. And then at 6 in the morning, Nina opens the door and with a flask of chai. So says, "Hello, y'all want some tea?" So first instinct, yeah. Then suddenly we're saying, "No, y'all are enemies, man. We can't take tea from you." Okay.
Yes, yes.
Then we look at each other and say, "Chal, chai to pee lete hain, baad mein protest karenge na." So,
No, those
so
that's something that yeah, I still sort of wonder, because when did these defining lines happen of us versus them and stuff like that? No, because there was always a mid ground where
yeah.
we left who we were and actually got down to discussing uh, the task at hand or the issue at hand without actually having the baggage of I'm a student or I'm a teacher or I'm so and so.
Yeah, because you see, in hindsight, I
Mm,
always feel that uh, at that point, the people who were running the place always had the bigger picture in their head,
yeah,
and which is so important when you're running an organization or running a company or anything else. The big picture is so important. It's not the 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 being trivial, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so so they all knew that it's a passing phase. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's still,
they all
it's
knew
also
that.
the age, no, that this is something, because my daughter now is in her second, third year of design school, and she's going
Hmm,
through the same rounds of protest, like her blood is in protest mode right now. And Shivan, I have such a jolly good time actually going through her whole thing. But yeah, so that was really nice that there was that spirit of openness, of allowing
yeah,
things to happen.
yeah. The thing is that if you remember, actually no, you won't remember because you were not in communication design.
No.
Uh, Arya, Sumant, you might remember this. We had we used to have those forums. I don't know what it's called, where you discipline meetings. And there was one discipline meeting. I think Binny was our coordinator that time, and there's something happened, and we were arguing so much about, I don't even remember about what. Binny was almost down to tears, right? And now the point is, and then she sort of went off, and then she came back again, and then we continued with the discussion. The point is, that you don't, when do you see faculty members, uh, breaking down in crying, in tears, and I mean, it just takes a serious amount of passion and commitment, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
which is what is amazing, you know.
I think also this thing of, everybody is vulnerable, nobody is invincible. I might be a
Hmm.
teacher, but I'm not like the last word on anything. And you might be a
Yeah.
student and you can still be the last word on something, and you can
Hmm.
still be stronger than me. It's very nice that those boundaries were blurred, while we were studying. It
Yep.
was quite an interesting time. Yeah. So shall we move on?
Shall we move on? Yeah, let's move on. So then, of course, out there, if you remember, there were 2 days
Huh.
I mean, one day of the year is when we actually looked forward to, which is when we
Mistri's
went to our,
birthday.
right, Rajendra Mistry, who was a localite, and whose house we used to go to his birthday, and we used to get good food. And the other time there was Auntie from La Bella. She was Mother Goddess, and
Absolutely.
only once I. Uh, so this is about uh, 5-6 years, or maybe a little before she passed away. I had gone there once, and I made the mistake of trying to give her extra money, and she blasted the shit out of me. And so so yeah, I mean, but she was amazing. I think we discussed Lavela the other day, and I
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
remembering her.
I met
And
her a few years ago, and when I was talking to her, she said, "I'm so happy to see you because every day, apparently, every day of her life, ever since she opened the place, at 7 in the evening, she lights a candle for all the students
Wow.
And she says it's because of all the students in SEPT and NID that she is where she is. And so she always prays for our betterment and, you know, our joys. And I just thought, wow, look at this, you know.
And I remember I told her about increasing price. I don't know whether you discussed it with her. I told her about increasing
Huh.
price, and she told me why. So I didn't know why. I didn't know how to answer. So I said, you know, so that you'll make money a little bit, because it was still ridiculously priced, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so then she looked at me and said, why do I need money? You know, God has sent me here to look after you children, and she feeds me. But that's it. I don't need anything
Yeah,
more, right?
yeah, yeah.
So she was rare. I
Amazing.
don't think you met
Really
people
rare,
like that
rare
anymore.
soul. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's this person
So
on the extreme left out here? I can't recognize. Next to you, yeah, Oni.
PC.
No, no, PC is on top. This girl sitting here.
I don't know. Is it Shanu? Could be, no?
Could be, no? I don't know. Yeah, can't tell.
So
why are you looking dreamily at Mamta, man? Was
okay,
this
let's
in our
move on.
third year? Huh. Okay, sorry.
So
No, before we move on, would you like to? Okay, yeah, move on. I think I want to
Yeah.
discuss Totanama.
yeah, let's move. We'll move to Totanama, and then of course I met
Lovely.
Rachna.
Yes.
Yeah, that was in my third year and her, no, my second year, her first year, right? And this is actually some of the first photographs which I had developed myself, and some of them we had done it. And if you remember, there was this student thing which was started there, right? The rec room,
Rec
dark
room.
room.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, so we had sort of developed those things out there.
Man, this woman doesn't age or what? Rachna, what are you on? Like, what is this? Lovely, lovely photograph. Yeah.
And that takes me to one of the things we wanted to discuss, Monsoon
Yes.
Fiesta.
Because also
And,
that rec room with the lab, with the photo lab, I remember we all at one point, our whole batch, there was 5, 6 of us who were in the SAC committee.
Right. So this was in our fourth year. So what happened was in our till our second year there was autumn games, which was all the serious sporting events, and then because it was only about sports, nobody was coming in, and third year there was no games. So fourth year, when we were all part of SAC, that's when we decided that let's do our own version, and which was Monsoon Fiesta. And
yeah, I remember Amita Saint was the
Amita was the
heading
SAC
president.
coordinator, and
Yeah.
there was Sumant, Gary, you, me. We were all part of SAC, and so that was one sort of crazy 4 days, if you remember. Telegames and sports and dumb charades. So yeah, so we actually founded Monsoon Fiesta, which is
correct.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But that year was good fun because there was Sumant, I think, in cultural committee, you in sports, me in rec room, somebody else in the mess
Gary
committee.
Gary was mess committee.
Oh yes, and that's when he picked Dabgar up by his collars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And of
is
course,
Gary here today? No idea. No,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And our getaway to Diu.
Oh.
This was one of our many trips to Diu, where we used to just take the bus to Una, and Una say another bus to Nagoya.
Yeah.
And go straight to Gangasagar.
Gangasagar.
Find Gangasagar, and then next to that was Mombasa, where you could get reach at 7 in the morning and start drinking from 7:30. And so this was one of those many trips to sort of Diu. And so protest, we talked about the protest already, and now let's talk about Totanama. Right now, Totanama is very important to a lot of people. For me, it's very important because it actually turned my life around and pushed me towards believing or understanding what I really wanted to do, which is films. So this is in our 4th year when we had electives, and there were few electives. 3 weeks. There were a few electives that were being offered, and one of them was film elective Totanama, where Chandita, filmmaker who had from Bombay, she had come down. So the thing was, there was a script which was written, which she had sort of tweaked around, which was based on, part Arabian Nights, part Totanama, the stories. She had done her own spin on that, and it was a story within a story within a story, right? And so she was supposed to direct it, and we were all supposed to be part of the crew. So I volunteered for that, and so I was working as almost like a AD and production manager. So the 3 weeks, I hardly slept. I don't know. I hardly bathed.
Most of us didn't sleep.
Yeah. So
is Manisha here? I don't know if there are some
amazing,
of the others.
Yeah. The way the entire student community and the faculty members got together, right? There were it was all equal, right? And so there were 3 chapters. So one was set in the Rajasthani sort of mode, where we went and found Havelis and stuff to shoot in, and Amita was acting, and there was Ravi Mokashi, who was playing Amita's father and the king, right? And then of course the Persian one, where there was this amazing
these tall sets,
the set done, which was supposed to be like miniature painting, where with no perspective. So if somebody walks towards you, that person is not walking towards you, is walking down. So it's up and down, no depth actually. So so there was of course Sumant who was acting in it, and
I remember the shot when Sumant had to they took multiple takes, and he had to keep puking this big bead out of his mouth. Sumant, do you remember that?
Yeah,
and there were some donkeys. I have a vague memory of donkeys shitting and ruining that shot. Oh, and this was the one boy everybody was envious of, because he had to have these spots painted all over his body. And Sonalika was the one who was dressing him up. And there's Setu having his time.
And Mr. Nayak and
Ambar.
Murli and Ambar and Ravi, who was sort of working on it. And so this is the set, if you see, which I was talking about. This is only sort of half done. There was another, I think, another 2 floors which were going up. And the plan was that we will shoot it. There was a lot of chaos during the shoot, because one day we were shooting in one of the Havelis in the old city, and there were riots. And so there was no food. We had to get food. The food was supposed to come from NID, didn't come. And with me in production managing production was Arpita. So while we were trying to figure out, Arpita being Arpita said, okay, you all talk too much, I am going to do something. So she went in the middle of the riots to some place and got these those dal vadas. She came with 2 bags of dal vadas for everybody in the middle of the riot. And then because of the riots, so we were supposed to shoot this with a crane, because to match the perspective of it, so you need to be parallel to the plane, right? But the crane was supposed to come from Baroda, but the crane never landed up. So therefore we had to put up those rostrums and shoot as flat as possible, but it couldn't be actually the way it was meant to be, right? So therefore, the final one, it was meant to be all one shot coming down. It had to be cuts. So, so yeah. So this was sort of things being set up, and of course, I did a little cameo.
There's Shakti and you.
Shakti and me, where we had to get somebody else to become a customer. That guy didn't land up, so Chandita said, "Why don't you get in?" So I put up a gamcha, take a gamcha, and sort of sat
Shakti,
there.
did you have lines for this?
Yeah, Shakti had serious lines.
Yeah, I was some bania there, and Bhojia came with that, that moti to sell me and all. Yeah.
Which is the one that Sumant tried to gobble.
Yeah.
Oh
But what
God.
was amazing is this. For instance, if you look at this space, this set,
it was
Calico.
No.
It was
Ambalal. That not Ambalal. No. So
Vishala.
Piraji, no,
Vishala,
Piraji Sagra.
Right.
Who was a guy who used to deal in, I think Suranjana, you'll know, who used to deal in these
antiques and
wooden things and stuff, antiques. And so he had one
Dilli Darwaza.
go down kind of thing. Right?
Near that Vishala restaurant. Vishala.
Yeah, it was close to Vasna. And so he had, it was all in a mess. He had piles and piles of this in a go down kind of thing. So he had said, use whatever you want, but you can't take it from here. So that's when I think this was made with all the available stuff and was shot there only. And he had 2 Afghan hounds which used to sort of run around in between the set and go from here to there. And
that's another lovely thing, no? Like the textile department just opened all their wovens for us, and the product, all the woodwork shop, the metal work, everything. So you could just use anything you wanted to create this. That kind of freedom of work was really amazing.
Yeah.
This Totanama, that way everybody worked on everything.
And it was so much synergy. We all were like day and night working. It was really good.
Continue.
And the way.
Yeah.
And the way Chandita had worked out the screenplay was actually fantastic. The way it moved from one era to the other without meandering too much. Because eventually it was, I don't know how long, it was, I think, maybe a 30-minute film, or maybe under 30 minutes. But to figure out the screenplay movement from one era to the other, and then coming back there, it was very, very beautifully done. I mean, of course, that time when we were shooting it, I didn't get time to sort of get much into the screenplay because I was so into logistics, right? And planning out the storyboards and everything else.
But I think that's also the first real time that all of us got a glimpse of what it takes to make a film.
Yep.
All the, it's a crazy amount of coordination. And after having seen something like that, you chose to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the point is, I think that is something which pushed me, and I'm sure pushed a lot of other people to get into cinema, right, in some way or the other, right? And so post Totanama, of course, let's just move towards the end of NID, because I joined video, and that time.
But before you move to the end of NID, I would like to actually get somebody to, somebody to say a little bit about you, someone who's really, really close to you, and she's here and she's from another time zone. I hope she hasn't signed out. She had threatened to go to bed. Arye, you're on mute.
Now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, can hear.
Well, Oni's probably my best friend. Oni and Sumant, my two best friends in college. And they help keep me sane. Oni, besides the fashion statement that he used to make with his hair. I would say he was one of the kindest and most unflappable people I've ever come across. And I don't know, totally unafraid. Or if he was afraid, he always hid it really well. And which is probably why he was willing to go into film. And if you ever needed a piece of, I don't know how he did it, but everybody liked Oni. I mean,
That's true.
anybody who wanted to talk, there were people who I think he barely knew he managed to make a friend. He just managed to make friends of people, or people felt that he was their friend, and people would just talk to him. And it's a fantastic quality and I think it's because he's genuinely interested in what other people have to say. And that's probably why he's such a good raconteur. When you say he tells a story and he makes the most boring thing interesting, it's probably because he's interested in people, and that's how he manages to make stuff interesting.
But that's really
and he
true.
genuinely seems to care when he talks to you. And he's given me he used to give me some really good advice. One of the ones which I still keep with me to this day is not to get upset at people, because then you give them power over you, which is something I keep reminding myself all the time. And it does help keep me calm. So yeah, and he's one of the few people I've actually kept in touch with. What is it, nearly 30 years later? 25, 30 years later. So yeah, so I can see why he's doing what he's doing, and I can see why he goes back to NID to teach, because I know he's one of those people who likes to give back. And as I said, he likes people and he likes to be involved, and I think he enjoys life. He's very observant about life. So
thanks,
as I
Ari.
said, that's why he does what he does.
There, Oni, see how nicely I've plugged.
I know.
Just when you think. Come on.
Just when I was getting scared.
Yes. But you know,
Okay.
Ari is right. Ari is right. There's just one. I searched high and low to find somebody who didn't like you. Okay.
Okay.
I haven't found anyone yet.
Ari, you should have asked me.
और बताओ.
मैं तो दो चार बता देता. So okay, I'm gonna move fast. I think we are running really short of time. Yeah.
8 o'clock. No. No, but before you move to moving pixels, did Bob design happen before?
Yeah. So it's all coming there.
Okay.
So what happened was, when we were see, that time getting a diploma project for film and animation was really tough, because nobody wanted to risk their money with because graphic design and stuff is much easier. That was much easier because whoever's funding a project doesn't have to pay much, right? So so there was 3 of us, Bakchi, that's Shantanu Bakchi, me, and Pawan. Pawan was in animation. All of us were stuck getting our diploma projects. So, and we were staying on campus, and that time it was, I think, holidays had started, and we were hanging there, and we needed to get some money. So somebody told us that some guy next to Parimal Garden or wherever, who wants a mural done. And so we said, okay, we'll come and do the mural. And so 3 of us landed up. Pawan used to have that RX 100. So this was in 45 degrees Ahmedabad. So 3 of us sat on the bike and went there, and he showed us one place which is next to the staircase, one tall thing and a wall. So we said, okay, sir, we'll come back with our with a concept. So that night we were thinking what to do, and Bakchi, being very diligent, he made a model of mount board of that staircase. And by the time night got over, we hadn't thought of something. So we thought, chal kuch circle, triangle वगैरह डालते. So whatever will be easy to execute. So we made some tessellation or whatever, something with lots of forms, mainly geometric forms, and took it there. And he was expecting some Mickey Mouse or something, because Mickey Mouse was a very big thing. Okay, so we told him, no, देखिए, अभी this is postmodern design. So they said, okay, so how much money you'll take? So we had no clue how much money, right? So we looked around and looked at each other, and we said 15,000 rupees. So he said, okay. And then he said, okay, how much advance? So again, we are looking at each other. We don't know what to do. So then he went inside and gave us some 4,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees or whatever. I think that's the biggest chunk of money I had seen till then. So we took that money, we went to Iqbal Bhai, and we ate, we picked up alcohol. We went back and didn't land up for 2 days because we were so drunk. And after 2 days, we went there and we said, sorry, पेट खराब हुआ था. Then he looked at us, तीनों का हुआ था. I said, हाँ सर, साथ में खाए थे हम लोग, तो सबका पेट खराब हो गया था. So we started working there, and we did serious work. Serious work, as in I was of course, the unskilled labor, because Bakshi and Pawan both were amazingly skilled, and so I had to
no less.
So I had to mix the paint and stuff, and take it there, and so anyway, so we used to call ourselves Bob Design, Bakshi, Oni, and Borogoy, as in Pawan Borogoy. And so anyway, it's a long story. So we had a blast doing it, and we were treated like workers. Means in that house, if we wanted water, it was never from the fridge. We had to take it from the tap, carry our own bottles. We had to eat outside. We used to carry our kaam wala kapda and change into that, work, and then change back and come there. And then we started doing an aquarium out there, a huge aquarium which leaked, and we were chucked out of the house. And so they still owe us some money, but our aquarium leaked. And so anyway, so Bob Design was about it sort of helped us through till the time we were finding our diploma projects. And then of course we found our diploma project. That's another story altogether, but there are too many stories. So so post the diploma project sort of got over, we decided to Bakshi and I both wanted to move to Bombay. But before that, we so there was Bakshi, Hemant, there was this guy in Bombay called Ahmedabad called Manish Bharatia. They had already started a company, and I joined in there, which was the Moving Pixels company. And then Hemant sort of left after a year, and I think he went to Bombay. He moved away. But so Moving Pixels company was a company where we used to do really embarrassing work. Okay, I'm so embarrassed about the work we used to do. We used to do these TV commercials for cable TV for anybody. It could be Mithai Wala, it could be guys
in
who
Ahmedabad.
had
In Ahmedabad.
That
makes a big difference, because TV commercial in Bombay for anybody is different from anybody in Ahmedabad.
Devika, you have no clue how bad they were. But so this, I found these photographs where Hemant was acting in one of the films, and Bakshi was the cinematographer. Both of us used to direct, and I was a production manager. And so I used to get puri bhaji for everybody, because we used to save money there and make that money. And so basically we wanted to make some money and move there. So moved to Bombay. And we spent about 2 years doing this. So at some point we used to go in municipal market from big shops. We used to go shop to shop and ask them, sir, film banana hai kya? So then some will say yes, some will say no, some will say baad mein aao, some will say, get out of here. So I said, okay, sorry. And so effectively what happened was, when we moved to Bombay, we actually had a very ridiculously bad show reel, because we had done all this nonsense, right? And even at NID, we hadn't done anything unlike the kids nowadays. They do some really fantastic work. We had really sort of ordinary film work at NID. So
but also the tech only allowed you that much back then. It was way too expensive.
Even the way the course was structured is very different now. It's far better, at least our course. So anyway, so we decided to So post this, we sort of moved to Bombay, right? That's the next chapter in my life. We moved to Bombay, and we started this company called Illusion Films. Again, it was me, Bakchi, and Hemant, right? And Hemant was, and Hemant's family is somebody who we are indebted to. You know, Hemant's sister and brother-in-law. They gave us a place to stay. They gave us their office, and three of us to sit and do complete nonsense. You know, but we used to have a lot of fun, right? We used to go pitch for projects, and sometime back, Hemant had sent me some images of some random things which we are trying to pitch to Channel V and stuff. But so anyway, so that continued for some time, and then post that is, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit, and so the thing is that it was tough for us to get work to start with, and but the point is that I think something which we all which we worked very hard towards is this: if you can get the smallest of opportunities, you make it work, right? How can you, if somebody tells you to do a scratch film, you know, scratch film is something which they do, which never goes on air. They use that to pitch for the brand. You make it in a way they would feel bad not giving you the final film to do, right? So, and I think that is something which we followed, and which sort of helped us, right? So so there was one project, one of our projects which actually turned our fortune around, was, if you remember, there was a company called BPL, and BPL was doing a bunch of commercials called Future Copyright BPL, which they were not selling any products of BPL. They were basically talking about how BPL is tuned to future. So we could actually do anything we want. And that is where we collaborated with Murli and Rachna. And they did some really amazing production design, right? And so basically things like, and if you see, some of it is what it is now. So there's this, you know, things like in-ear pieces where you can hear things and stuff, right? And this I'm talking about in 95, right? You know, smart, you know, like your Google glasses, right? So this is what Murli and Rachna had designed as a set, right? And so this entire contraption, and this I remember Murli made with hand from junk, right? You know, you all know how amazing
this is so Moo, no? So Murli. This
so
has
Murli.
a sharp on him on it, yeah.
Totally, right? And this entire thing, I think, when these guys had given us the project to do, they just thought that, you know, इनको थोड़ा पैसा दे देते कुछ तो आ जाएगा type of thing. But they had no clue, you know, what will come out of it. And that changed the way people looked at us at that point, right? Say, for instance, this entire thing of an airport of the future, right? This is a set which Rachna and Murli had made. And so, yeah, so that was one sort of project which sort of changed over. The other project which sort of changed over was, one second. The other project which got changed over was this project which we had done for Bose, right? Now, again, it's, you know, there was a lot of sort of Rachna and Murli, a lot of Murli in this one. So what happened was, I got to know, somebody told me that Bose wants to make TV commercials, and because they are being launched, they're launching in India. So they didn't have an agency or anything. So I just called them up, and I landed up in Delhi in their office with 10 scripts. This is without a brief. There was no brief of what they wanted to do. So I was just excited, okay, you know, we'll do something for Bose. And so from there, they were really nice people, and they selected one idea, which was basically talking about sound from the soul, right? And to cut a long story short, it is a very simple film of a music piece which runs through, and a lot of people are playing the instruments, but they do not have the instruments. It's almost like it's in their head. The music's playing in the head. So it's a person who's playing the sitar and person who's playing the whatever percussion. There's no percussion and stuff. So we were planning to shoot it all over the country. And so what happened was we decided to. There was no money, right? And to travel, and we were almost saying no to the project. And then suddenly it struck me, and I called up Mulli and I said, Mulli, if I write one piece about a character, will you do an illustration? So Mulli said, yeah. So then there were 7 characters or 8 characters. So I wrote one page on the characters, talking about their life, their fantasy, their da 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 da. And Mulli started doing these amazing illustrations, and we decided to shoot against those illustrations. So for instance, this was the person who plays the piano. So this is actually a shooting still, this is while we are shooting. And so this is the illustration Mulli did, right? Of, based on his backstory of where he lives and, his family and stuff like that, his loneliness, solitude. And then this is a still from the film. So when we shot it, we sort of merged it, we matched the lighting and stuff, we shot it accordingly. So similarly, there was this percussionist who was supposed to be in Banaras, and Mulli, this is the illustration Mulli did for it. And then when we merged it together, right, the reality which got merged together. So this was a flautist, the person who plays the sitar, the guitarist, and so this is, of course, the end. At the end, I had to bring the Bengali connection that Bose is coming to India, so I used a shank. And so this is when we were shooting it, and then we were sort of matched it on. So this was another project which sort of again turned around our entire sort of the way people looked at us. But it's one of those projects which happened purely because people believed in the project, right? And I think which needs to happen in most amazing projects, that whether it was Shantanu who did the music, Mulli and Rachna and Mulli especially who did all the illustrations, and Rafi who did the cinematography. So everybody sort of believed in it, not worrying about the money or anything else, and it worked sort of beautifully, right? And so post this, we sort of I'm going to just move on to, at some point we decided to this is what Devika, you were talking about the other day, the little itch that happens that when you do the same thing again and again and again, at some point, sometime you want to change it around. And the same thing I think happened to me also, that we were doing a lot of TV commercials, a certain kind of commercials, but at some point you needed to do things differently. So that's when we separated. Bhakti and I separated. Till the time we were Illusion Films, we separated and we started my company, which is Electric Dreams, with Suparna, who was my producer. She was so we both sort of started running new company, which is Electric Dreams, and there we actually started doing a whole bunch of very different kind of stuff, and most of it human stories, right? Whether it's TV commercials, whether it's documentary, whatever we did, we actually started working, because that's when I realized that the kind of stories I wanted to tell are basically human stories about emotion, about what people feel, right? And one of the films. So anyway, so this is our backyard in my office, which I love so much, right? And so one of the projects which is very, very close to my heart, which we did about 3 years back, is this 5-minute film called Paro, which is sort of set in Calcutta. And this was commissioned by HP New York, San Diego, sorry, HP San Diego. And they wanted to do short films in various countries and different directors making it. So it was basically about a little girl who's a dreamer. And the reason why this film is very special is there are a lot of things that I put into the script which is connected to my childhood. For instance, a kid who is drawing in his or her, I mean, here it's a her, maths book or maths exam. Not getting the conventional way of learning is not getting into her. Her entire interest lies elsewhere, and the only one who understands her is her grandmother, right? So this was a story about Paro, and so yeah, and we got this amazing little actress, and from Calcutta, and she's somebody who is so. I've worked with many actors and a lot of kids. This one was special. This one was really special. I remember. So there was a moment where for 2 days, we had a tight budget and we were shooting over 3 days actually, and a lot of times she was there in all the shots. So therefore, she had very little downtime, and she was 8-year-old, and I used to call, I forgot what her name was. I used to call her Paro Didi only. So I used to talk to her in Bangla, and so I was explaining to her one day that, "Acha, Paro Didi, why do you cry?" So she said, "When I'm sad." So I said, "Do you cry some other time?" Then she thought for a while. "Yeah, when I'm very happy." I said, "Correct." So then, when we are doing the shots, she knew exactly why she's crying, right? There was a time when we were, there was a shot where she's really sad and she can't sleep. And there's one shot, the camera's on top, and she's, is looking at her, and the brother is like, ghoda bech ke, he's sleeping. So I was, when you can't sleep and when you're anxious, for an actor, it's very simple. You tell them that you focus into infinity, right? So now to an 8-year-old, how do you explain focus and how do you explain infinity, right? So I remember when the lighting was happening, we were shooting in a house in Calcutta, and she was lying down on the bed. I was lying down next to her, and we were both chatting. So I was looking at her and said, "Acha, Paro Didi, what do you see up there?" So she said, "Why? Camera." So I said, "Then?" She said, "Fan." I said, "Then?" "Ceiling." I said, "Then?" So then she said, "Dhur, I don't see anything." I said, "No, imagine there is no ceiling." So she said, "Then sky." So I said, "Then?" She says, "Cloud." I said, "Then?" She said, "Stars." And then I said, "Then?" Then she got damn excited. Then she said, "Stars from another world." I mean, she was talking to me in Bangla only. Then I said, "Okay, fine. Now you count. I know how many stars are there. Now you count and tell me how many stars are there in that other world." Okay. So, and which was amazing because 2 takes, she was actually looking at infinity and counting stars, and it worked beautifully, right? So this was also another project where, because everybody works very differently. For a lot of my projects, we do very strong pre-visualization. So this was one of those projects, the pre-visualization, and what we shot was we tried to get it as close as possible. And there were 2 people who, of course, were fantastic. One was Pradipto, who did all my illustrations. And this was, of course, Paro. So Podu did my illustrations, and Rupa is from NID, who did the cinematography, right? And this was the actual frame, and this is what we had visualized. By the way, this lady who played the grandmother had acted in, just a trivia, had acted in Satyajit Ray's first color film, Kanchenjunga. So this was the illustration of Paro crossing over, in a boat, in a steamer every day to school. So this is where there's the frame, and then Paro at night hiding and scribbling in her book, and so this is what we shot. So this project was, there are some projects which become very, very special. So this was one of those, right?
But
and
yeah, you have to share about shooting in Kolkata, that because that is your city. And at some point, I mean, we will be asked to hurry up now, but at some point, I want you to share your, you go back to NID and teach, right? And you've been doing that year after year after year. and you're not going to teach a structured sort of course. You seem to be having fun, because I spoke to some of your students, and so I would like you to, keep 5 minutes for that.
So let's do this. So
Huh.
let's move on to because shooting in Calcutta are basically fun stories. So I think we can skip that.
No, why?
Okay, I was just looking at the time. So okay, shooting in Calcutta is the reason I sort of put it there, because I thought it's because you see, I've grown up in Calcutta, and I'm sure a lot of y'all, some of y'all must have shot in Calcutta. So Calcutta, when you're shooting in Calcutta, you go through experiences which, in hindsight, they are very poetic and beautiful and amusing. But that time you're jacked, right? You don't find it amusing at that time at all. And you cannot expect where it's going to come from. So simple thing. So we are shooting at in the morning, one scene, and Rubais was shooting it, and we were all in Outram Ghat. We are shooting a laughter club. So I told these guys that, I don't want to get actors. Let's get a real laughter club. So the production manager, who has passed away sometime back, Dinesh, the amazing guy. So Dinesh said, I will organize 10 people. So Calcutta sun rises very early. So by 6, it's bright sunlight. So 5:30 we are supposed to shoot. So Rubais has planned out that we'll light up sunlight and all those things. So 7 o'clock, 6:30, nobody's there. None of the actors are there. So Dinesh da is walking up and down and saying, Dinesh da, actor kahan hai? So actor aayega, tum kochuri wochuri khao na. So I said, kochuri khao mane actor kahan hai? I said, अरे अभी 7 बजे आए, वो लोग सुबह उठेगा, चाय पिएगा, थोड़ा हल्का होगा, फिर तो आएगा. प्रेशर नहीं होगा तो कैसे आएगा? हाँ. So now the point is, when they come there, you can't even yell at them, because see, bowel movement is very important, right? So sunlight can go go for a walk. So similarly, there was this other incident. So we were shooting this film in Calcutta, where this was a rain sequence, and we were shooting in the old in the Dalhousie area, and we had to finish by 2 o'clock because that day was the IPL final, and the Eden Gardens is close by. So again, we were shooting. All the master shot was done of the rain, and the 2 actors were inside, and we were, what you do is you put water on the taxi, and with little pipes, the water is trickling down the kaanch. And we had shot 2-3 takes, and there were tankers for water. And suddenly, in one of the shots, the water stops. So I suddenly said, "Cut! Arey, kya ho raha hai? Pani." So Dinesh da is walking around, and the production manager walking around, and so I said, "Dinesh da, kya hua hai?" So Dinesh da looks at the monitor, "Kya hua hai?" So I said, "You're not watching or what?" So Dinesh da calls out, "Hey, Potla!" So one guy with a gamcha wearing a lungi or whatever comes there. "Ha, Dinesh da." So Dinesh da says, "Kya hua hai?" Potla says, "Pani khatam ho gaya." Dinesh da turned towards me and said, "Pani khatam ho gaya." I said, "Yeah, I got it, but pani kyun khatam ho gaya?" Dinesh da turns towards Potla. "Potla, pani kyun khatam ho gaya?" So Potla says, "Tanker mein pani nahi hai, khatam ho gaya." So Dinesh da turns towards me and says, "Tanker mein pani nahi hai." So Dinesh, I said that I'm trying to explain to Dinesh da, see, Dinesh da, whenever the water is going down, somebody needs to warn us, right? The water is less. So Dinesh da turned towards Potla and says, "Potla, pehle kyun nahi bataya?" So then Potla turns towards Dinesh da and says, "Pani to andar hai, main to bahar hu, mere ko kaise pata chalega?" So Dinesh da turned towards me. Now, what do you say in things like that? It's a complete sorted logic. Pani andar hai, main bahar hu, how will I know, right? So obviously, Suparna decided, our producer, she said, "Okay, doesn't matter. I've got to get another tanker from somewhere else and do it." So Calcutta is basically full of stories like this. So I have tons of them. So anyway, so we're gonna move on to. I'm gonna skip this to. So
please spend 5 minutes on this.
So at some point, while we were doing sort of TV commercials and stuff, so we decided to do this film, which was actually a journey, which we did over 3 years. So me and this friend of mine, Swati, we sort of worked on it together. And so I directed it and I shot it myself. So it's called the Saints of Sin. So it's basically about 8 women and the 7 sins and their stories, right? And so it was basically a lot of interviews and what they were talking about. So each person was based on her life story. Say, for instance, there was this girl Debbie, whose life story talked about she was wroth because there was immense amount of anger in her, right? And she talks about her life. Similarly, Paro talks about lust. Swati talks about sloth. So similarly, different people talk about their lives, and we put it together. And so the reason I think it was very special because for the first time, I didn't know what to do. The point is, see, all this time you were working in a scripted format. You're doing scripted narrative, right? So suddenly, this entire thing of shooting, I'm going and shooting these women, and I've got, for each of them, I've got about 2 hours or whatever, maybe 4 or 5 hours of footage, and I didn't know, I had no clue what to do with it. So I struggled with it for almost a year to put it together in a certain way. And I think that struggle was actually quite fascinating. To it's sometimes it's nice to not to know what to do, right? Because otherwise it gets very predictable, not boring.
But I think it's also nice that that, I mean, when you're saying not to know what to do, in the current scenario, it is even more bizarre, no? Because the entire method of making cinema has changed, and the entire method of watching cinema has changed. And so, from moving from a scripted A to Z narrative, then to move into this, where you were actually literally celebrating individual stories, but trying to put them all together in a cohesive fashion, right?
Yeah.
So, from this, if you can take us on to this thing of like, how has this whole thing shaped what cinema means to you?
Well, the point is, I think there's one thing which has always been there. One is that anything we do has to be engaging, right? So, and to me, that is, so you need to engage and you need to empathize, right? There's empathy factor and the engagement factor. Both are important, because if you don't believe in your narrative, or rather, I'm saying when I'm watching the narrative, if I don't believe in the narrative, then I'm not with you on the journey. So, and that was actually the biggest struggle that I had for a narrative like this, right? Which is not a conventional narrative of a protagonist and so on and so forth. So, so the question is, why will somebody watch it, and how will I? Because when I cut the entire thing, I had 2 issues. One was that it was just people talking, and second, I was feeling really bad that while I was being very true to everybody's talking, there was nothing of mine in the film. I had nothing to say, right? So that's when I decided to add the songs. So each sin, I added a song. Now the song were songs from my childhood, which I knew, right? Some of them, I mean, some of course songs which were new songs which I discovered, but some of them were Tagore songs or Baul songs which I knew, and I got these amazing singers from Bangladesh. So I got and shot them in went and shot them in Dhaka, and we sort of put it together. And so the thing that you're talking about, that how cinema and stuff has changed, right? So there are 2 things which have changed, I think, in the last maybe 10-15 years. Lot to do with this entire everything becoming digital, right? And the fact that it's not elitist anymore, right? So that entire thing of democratization of the entire of cinema, where I can sort of make a film with this. I can shoot, I can edit, put music. I do not have to worry about it, and then I can put it on YouTube or wherever else. So anybody can make a film, right? So like sometime back, Agni made a film, and I don't think I would have thought of anything like that when I was his age, right? Or much later than his age also. So the point is that the fact that anybody can make a film and anybody can show a film to people, which basically means that everybody can tell their stories, right? So you don't have to wait for a certain time channel. It's like sabka time aega, and so you don't have to wait anymore. And which I think is the most beautiful part. Of course, there's a flip side to that also, that you get a lot of nonsense which comes out as well. But I think that's a good nonsense,
But I think that also is a fantastic, even the nonsense that comes out is a very nice kaleidoscope of the world that we live in, no? Because otherwise cinema was actually showing us a certain, you saw cinema from the eyes of rather privileged souls who could make those films.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing cinema from just about anywhere.
Yeah, and anywhere, any age. So it's not that you need to be of a certain age to make something, right? So just to give an example, recently Agni had done this film, and there was a children's film festival, and so he had put this film on, and his film was selected, and so was a bunch of other films, and we were sitting and watching those films. Devika, some of those films made by 12-year-old kids or 13-year-old kids or whatever are so amazing. So amazing. It talks about gender bias. It talks about sexuality. It talks about there's one kid who's made a film where with a stop clock camera, he's only acted, talks about multiplicity, right? And it's some 10-year-old kid, right? It's amazing what this entire breakthrough has done.
But also Agni is born into this craft, no? I remember that there was one time when we came and stayed 3 days with you and the girls in Agni. Remember this?
Yeah.
I guess some 15 years ago or something, 10 years ago. Yeah. But you're right. Like age, social status, education, nothing matters now. If you want to make cinema, you can. And if you want to watch cinema, you still can. You don't need to be of any particular, it's open to all, and which is, I think, fantastic. I mean, it does have its negative sides, but the greater.
But I think it's more positive than, absolutely, it's more positive than negative.
So then I want to ask you, Asur, yes.
So Asur is something which I don't think I need to talk much about. It's a web series which I finished some time back, and so it's been doing really well. But I think it's a lot to do with the lockdown as well. But it's doing.
Come on, well. Take it one-time compliment when it's coming.
But I had again a lot of fun doing it.
Oh yeah, but I have this one anecdote from Asur. Do you remember? There was a time, so Oni did a lot of his, the Asur setting is a lot of it is in Banaras. And I think this was sometime last year around this time, September, October. And I was working in Banaras, and then suddenly there's this photograph that Oni shares on a class group on Facebook or somewhere. And it is the guy that I used to go to every day to have samosas and long latikas. It's a dirty street side shop in Gaighat.
With the most amazing lavanga latika.
Oh, too good. Okay. So I would pass by this fellow because he's in the corner. His shop is in the corner, and then go into Gai Ghat to work with my girls in Gulabi Meenakari. And then here was a picture of this halwai. So I asked Oni, where did you get this? I mean, what are you doing? He says, I've been here. And it's funny because Oni and I had been in that city, and this is crazy because Banaras to me is like, it's the density of the place that fascinates me. It's like a Bombay or a New York or Banaras is like tightly packed, the old city. And in that entire city, he and I were on one street, and we'd been walking that street up and down 5 times a day to that
And the
same
same ghat.
chaiwala, the same ghat. And we had never bumped into each other. And it was just this chance photograph. And I think I was leaving the next day.
Yeah.
So then we spent, we went and met the weavers and hung around at the ghats and stuff. But it's crazy that, two people should be working in the same lane and you don't get to know that the other person. And the samosa wala was so shocked to see the two of us.
I know.
He said,
But
"Aap
with the most-
aap inko jante hain?" Yeah.
That guy gave me a long lecture on hing, okay, how special the hing is and
Hing is,
kahan se hing
yes.
lata hai and all that.
He gets it from
Amazing.
Afghanistan. Yeah. Even I got that lecture. Yeah, continue. Huh.
So anyway, so that was sort of Asur, but I'm going to move on. We're running out of time, so I'm going to move on quickly to a little thing where I learn a lot from are all the workshops that I do, which is where mainly, of course, NIT. Some of it has been Mica, some of it has been DJ. Few times I've gone to DJ also, but the NIT workshop. So we actually do some really crazy stuff, right? Some of it, everything is about, we do it about storytelling and fiction and writing scripts, and then of course we make a film. So every workshop, I keep telling them that I can't teach, and I can't sort of sit and teach. So therefore we go there, we write a script, we make a film, beginning till end. We put up sets, and we sort of, everything is done. And some of the stuff which we have done is amazing. So for instance, this one was this film about, which is called The Short Story about Words, I think. So basically, this man and woman, they're in two different places. They only talk to each other through letters, and they can meet only once. And the kids have done such a beautiful script. So where he's basically a painter and a bit sort of inspired by Jackson Pollock. So he sort of splashes paints and walks over it and lies down and stuff like that, rolls over the paint and stuff. And she's a travel writer. And so her apartment, if you remember, I don't know whether you can sort of notice this. So this is a product design studio.
Yeah.
So we put up a long apartment set there, and we shot from the other studio, so to make it like almost a voyeuristic, how apartment to apartment kind of thing, right? And so this was the actual set, right, of the apartment, right? And so we sort of shot, and for some of these earlier, we used to shoot it on film. Kodak used to sponsor it, and now, of course, it's shot on digital. And so that time, the students used to come to Bombay, and Shantanu used to do the music for it. Was super fun. And for instance, this one, in that exhibition room, next to that students, next to the gate, there's a shop where you can buy NID products.
Nida, huh?
Right. And right above that, there is a room, glass room kind of thing, where we have put up an entire circus with sand and with jokers and with everything, right? And with cutouts of animals and stuff. So anyway, so the point is, every time we've gone there, we've turned that tomb which is in the middle of the lawn. We opened it up, we cleaned it up, turned into a Chhattisgarh police station, and there was once, and that is what is amazing about NIT, because so I remember once we were shooting, and every time we get a DOP, so Setu is a cinematographer who shot Dangal and stuff. So Setu had come to shoot it, and we were planning to shoot it handheld and on a 16mm camera. And Setu was telling me that, Oni, it would be better if I could get a shoulder grip. Now, we hadn't planned for a shoulder grip to take in from Bombay and Ahmedabad. You don't get a shoulder grip. So I told Setu, yeah, okay, give me half a day, let me see. So I went to the product design studio. So I asked around, yeah, can anybody make something? Suddenly they said, this guy can do it. So within 10 minutes, there's one kid who came, took Setu's measurements, and by evening, he had done a mold and everything, right? He placed it. It's almost like doing fittings, right? By next morning, the shoulder grip was done with the head to be fitted in, and we shot the entire thing with that shoulder grip. Now, which institute? I don't know. You go there and you get a shoulder grip done
that place
overnight.
is magic. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
But now I have to take a small break to have Shiv. Are you around? I'm going to embarrass you again, Oni.
Yes. I'm around.
Yes. And there we have Shiv. So Oni has been talking about his side of the story at teaching at NID. And here I have someone from the other side who was learning film at NID with Oni. And Shiv, what do you have to share?
No, I think the first thing is that soon after coming back, when people ask me, what film school have you gone to? So I say I spent 3 years at NID and 2 weeks with Oni Sen. So you decide what film school I've gone to. So for me, that 3 years versus 2 weeks, I keep haunting him still. I'm sure he'll be irritated with me by now. But I think the only thing that I learned from him as when he was teaching and we were doing a workshop for Nike that he helped us do was that he never treats you like a student. So he does not let things come easily to you. He never mollycoddles you. With him, it's always like, ये नहीं करोगे ना तो बाहर जाके इतने डंडे पड़ेंगे that, and he does not scold you while doing it. He sets up by example. So if you're not good at it, he will do it himself. So being on his set is like, I would rather stand in a corner and observe and get more education than I would than spending 3 years in NID. And the second thing is, before I wrap this up, is that he has this mystical ability that people follow him. He's like that Pied Piper that people will follow him no matter what.
Oni the Guruji.
Yeah. So honestly, my parents at my house know him. They've not met him. My dad will walk up to me once a week. How's Onida doing? It's like he's never met him. He does not have a face to that individual. But it's just he's like for me, he's my Pied Piper. I'd follow him gladly off the cliff.
There you go, Oni.
Yeah.
Man.
What more? Wow, Shiv, you have really he really read the script well, huh? He said,
this is
no, it's not.
No, genuinely, when it comes to him, this is what I would write.
Hey, Shiv, it's me, yeah. I always lie, okay? So don't worry. Thanks so much. And what you said is Sola Ane Sach, like. It's 100% out there.
Such.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I'm sorry, it may not be an Amitabh line, yeah. Batao.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And the last thing is what I love doing is
and what we love you doing.
See life in black and white. Because while whatever work I do, film wise and otherwise, a lot of times I don't have a choice. It has to be in color, but I don't like color. So it's all black and white. So I sort of put together some stuff which.
Why are you running through them?
Oh, okay. So.
And why don't you like color?
I don't know. There are too many designers here, man. So.
Batana.
अरे यार वो उसमें कलर थोड़ा मिलावट है यार कलर.
हाँ. कॉम्प्लेक्स बना देता है, unnecessary.
हाँ मैंने जरूरत नहीं है कलर. तो सोच, look at this image. इसमें कलर का जरूरत क्या है यार? नहीं है ना. And color में this entire, I feel the soul will go away. It's like two random boys sitting there and playing with a plastic bag. This is the Andamans, right? And nothing. And two boys, plastic bag and cloud. और क्या चाहिए? Color चाहिए नहीं इसमें. This was this guy in Nepal. He was like really posing for me in that sunlight.
But I love the halo around him.
Yeah, he was catching that light, which was so beautiful. This is in this one of the food courts in Singapore. This is a mixed bag. One is in Masai Mara. This one, the one on the right, is actually cloud formation on a. I've taken that. You get this flight which goes past Everest. It's like a 2-hour flight. So it's one of those flights. So this was the. So these are all shot on a phone actually. And this one is in Devghar.
I love this bottom left one of yours. I remember you sharing it. Oh my God, it's just.
And so this is on the right is Calcutta. Has to be Calcutta. And some more of. And this is one dude I love shooting. Seriously.
This is one dude
He's
I
such
love.
a dude, man.
I think many of us just totally adore him.
I wish I was at least just 1/10 as talented as he is, but he's such a dude. And of course, more dude. And
absolutely.
And of course, Manu Bhai. Manu Bhai is somebody who I really absolutely adore. And especially now when I see him, it's just that he looks so helpless, but yet there's so much a smile, right? And it's almost like he's sort of trapped in his own little world, and he's just doing the best he can within that, walking around campus every day, sits in one corner, goes and sits in the library, eats. So I was walking behind him, trying to get him in the sunlight. And the man I love so much.
Absolutely.
Serious dude. Absolutely serious dude. Right. And yeah, so that's it. I think we took really long. Sorry, Sajid.
But it was fantastic, yeah, Oni. I think I make a terrible, terrible host because I didn't ask all the questions I was supposed to ask because you just took the show away from me. I had no questions to ask. You said, you just put it together so beautifully. I had to ask lame questions like, why don't you like color? Because I hadn't done my quota of 10 questions.
Also, because I got repeat in color in first year. So, and I must tell you, sorry, Sajid, one quick story.
No, go for it.
So I got a lot of repeats. So I got one, not repeat, sorry, incomplete. Utna kharab nahi tha,
I was just incomplete. Repeat to debug.
Repeat I got once. Gary and I got repeat for one SLA course. We had to do it again because we had gone off to play football at IIM.
Let's not go into Shantapa and Esther David and that SLA track.
No. We're not doing that. So
this is good.
So this is a Ranjan story. So Ranjan had in geometric construction, my skill was always very bad. So all my crystal cartridge was full of stains and stuff. So in one of the tessellation things, I was asked to do whatever 4 tessellations over the holidays. So I came to Calcutta. Abhi holidays mein, sara, who will do tessellation yaar? So I went 2 days early to Ahmedabad, and guess who I found? Pradeep Chaudhary. And Pradeep Chaudhary's tessellations were like full Oscar-winning tessellations.
It was his morning Surya Namaskar.
So he वैसे उसका बेड के नीचे कुछ एक था, वो खोला तो बोला कि कौन सा चाहिए लेके जाओ. So I took those tessellations and I put it on a light table and I traced it and I took it to Ranjan's office. And so Ranjan, in a heap of books, was sitting there And so I gave it to him. He saw it, and then he looked at my yellow slip. He signed it, and so I was leaving from there. I was really happy. So when I was leaving, he called me. So then he said, "I have one word of advice. Next time when you trace things on the light table, especially tessellations, make sure you take a compass and make a few holes, because your paper has no holes, right?" So because I hadn't drawn any arcs, right? So I looked at him. I said, "Okay, sorry. Next time I'll do it." And I was most worried कि साला वो yellow slip ले लेगा कि नहीं वापस. So but नहीं हुआ, बच गया.
Yeah,
So,
it's like those tetrahedrons, dodecahedrons, and falanahedrons and tecanahedrons that we had to make for GC. And I think between Gary and me, between us had completed our set. Like we didn't have one set each. So in the jury, we shared our sets. So I went first and showed my work and came out, and then he went and or whatever, And then it all went off well, but like in the next year is when Ranjan asked me, so whose models were they? Were they yours? Or he caught on, but they didn't say anything in the jury, and that was just so beautiful,
I know.
Because they knew they would just let us get away with it,
I think Ranjan, they all figured out कि इसको दो repeat देके nothing
फिर
is
भी
going to change in
बंदा
his life.
Yeah, छोड़ दो.
I know.
Devika, Oni, I'm going to put the spotlight on somebody who's going to give a
Yes,
vote of
please.
thanks.
Yeah.
One of
Yes.
your ardent fans, Oni. There you go, Diraj.
Okay, Oni was my visiting faculty in my final jury in my DIP project jury. Yeah. So I'd done my DIP project in this place called BITV in Delhi, and I had done some spots on child labor. And yeah, I was sort of confident and all that. But when I was confident to handle the faculty. But when I saw Oni enter, I said, "Oh shit! Now I've had it. I'll be in trouble." And he met me at the basketball court, and he told me, "Hey, kuta jachish? I don't know. I'm going to prepare and all that." He said, "Nah, you're going to come to my room tonight." So I said, "Okay." So maybe he's going to give me some tips and all that. So I went to his room. He was, I think, in the guest house that time. And he said, "Hey, I'll get mal khabu to shadi." I said, "Nah, Guru, I'll give na mal, no scene, man. We'll do it tomorrow." He said, "Nay, no scene. Today only we'll have to drink. You come. Yeah, we're going to have a drink, man." So I came, and I remember Oni and me there were some other people also, and they left. And then me and Oni had a drink. Go. It was about 4 a.m. I was still there. And finally, I just said, "I have to go now. I'm going to go." So I left. And I was really nervous. The next morning, my jury was the first one. I think it's early in the morning. I think 9:30 or something. I was there. And I was shitting bricks. And I was a little groggy and not quite there. It was heavy drinking, I remember. And then we were there. And then the presentation went off fairly well. The films were liked. And everything was okay. And then came the diploma document, which was my really weak point. I hated doing the document. And Mahendra Bhai was looking at the document very carefully and flipping pages. And they were all looking at each other. And suddenly he gets up and says that, "Well, the films are fine. They're good films and everything. But there's a problem with the page numbering." So I said, "Oh shit, now what to do, man? I don't want to do this. I'll do the films again, but I don't want to do the document." Yeah. So then I looked at Oni. Oni was on the other side, and I just looked at him. We had eye contact, and I was like looking helplessly at him, and he just sort of winked at me, and I said I didn't know what that meant, and he just stood up and said that this is done a good film, and the document is something that we don't do in the industry. He's already done it all right. It's just the paper thing. Just give him one little thing, and he'll just one half of a day, and he'll fix it. So there was a lot of argument and all that. Finally, Oni convinced the entire jury that
That's
he was okay.
Oni.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh God, thank you." Well, I didn't want to do that document again, man. And I mean, I was so happy. And then it was over and all that. And then I was going out, and he said, "Hey, Algiratire again, huh? We're going to have a drink again." So again, the next night, obviously that time I was over with the jury and all that. So I had a drink. And thanks, Oni. Thanks for that, man. I'll never forget that. Thanks so much.
Wow. Superb.
Yeah. Oni is one guy. He's the only person on earth who can actually sell coals to Newcastle. There's that old saying, I think Oni
Yeah, absolutely.
will be able to convince anyone of anything quietly. He'll park the story in, totally believable.
And everybody believed him. So all the faculty had nothing to say. He said, okay, fine, it's all, it's okay, it's done.
Thank you, Oni. That was an amazing journey. And Devika, you made it. I mean, you fantastic host you were again. So well
Only
done.
first
It was a
time I'm
lovely
hosting.
session. And Oni, the presentation was so beautifully prepared and structured. I mean, it was a treat. Thank you so much.
No, I was very nervous because of Devika. Na.
Listen,
I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I suddenly wake up in the night and say, Sala Devika.
Quickly spotlight some of the people.
Yeah, Sajid, I want to say something.
Yeah, Sajid, somebody wants to say something. Who's that?
Yeah, Partho here. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dheeraj has similar story. I have a similar story with him. I got to know, or I met Oni in my diploma jury for that matter. And again, like Dheeraj, he saved my diploma jury like anything. Probably similarly, there was some document issue or something like that. But what actually happened inside that jury room, I don't know because I was out. But he made some miracle happen that time. So I was saved. And after that, when I moved to Bombay, he became the go-to person for any kind of problem or any kind of scenario or just general visit. It's like, paying a visit to him. It's like Mandir mein Mata tek ke aane kind of thing. It's like if you're near Bandra in New York, you must visit him. And he helped me in numerous amount of time and I'm indebted to him like anything. So hats off to him. How he manages it, I don't know. But hats off to you.
Now I have to find, I'm seeing a pattern here. Bengali boys. Huh? Sumant is nodding. Hai na? There is something here going on. Young
Thank God for that.
So I need to find a non-Bengali.
We had a tournament in his name, which was the Onida football tournament during my time, sponsored by Onida.
Whoa!
They had come. Sanjay Chakraborty had come to me to take money.
Yeah,
and he said that we're gonna call this Oni Memorial Cup. And I told him, Salah, I am dead or what? Memorial Cup. So then they changed the name to Onida Cup. And they come to me for money only.
तो इसीलिए तो नाम रखा, स्पॉन्सर है तुम. Thanks so much, Oni. That was
just
amazing.
Really, thank you. Sajid.
Thanks, Sajid.
Devika.
Thanks, Devika.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Nisha.
Thanks, Oni. Thanks, Oni. Thanks, Guru.